Hello, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is a podcast by my dad and my uncle, and they're still unbelievably talking about music. Quite unbelievable. So I hope you enjoy it as much as we all did. It looks like they're going to start in about 14 seconds.
Hi there, welcome to another episode of BG's Broken Records, and oh my God, am I fired up. My name's Bob.
I'm Gare.
I almost forgot the intro.
Dude.
I'm so excited. What are you doing, Gare?
Nothing, but we are on our first remote ever.
Shut up.
This is so flippin' huge.
Shut up.
So excited for this.
Where are we?
We're at the Caju Cafe on Caju in Detroit.
Irony right there. Caju Cafe, I don't think I've been here 2 decades. Swear to God.
Wow.
No, really.
You got to come back for the new outside music. Well, I say new. It's been going on.
Well, I
for a
keep
little
getting videos from Chip about the Allman Brothers band that comes here and plays.
while. Right. Dead cover band and a good Steely Dan cover band.
Not Steely D.
Ste-
There is a cover band named Steely D. Sorry, just thought I'd let you know. Listen, we're sitting here at the Caju Cafe with a gentleman. It's a long story. We won't go into the minutia of it. I met him a number of years ago. I haven't seen him since that number of years ago. Gary organized a meeting between the three of us, and here we sit at the Caju Cafe, and we're going to talk to him. And do you know why we're going to talk to him?
Why are we going to talk to him, Bob?
Because he's a great musician.
Correct. Yeah, right. Sometimes I just can't read you like I used to. We need to hang out more.
And I own the Caju Cafe.
Well, that's true.
That's why we're here.
It's a good place. So if you hear phones in the background or beer bottles, crashing,
Right. It's all part of the ambiance.
that's right. So don't mind the phone ringing. Don't mind the bottles clacking. John, welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for coming out here and doing it live right at the Caju.
Sure.
All right, just to keep with habit.
Correct.
2 deaths.
Right. We got Phil Lesh from The Dead
And Quincy Jones.
and then Quincy Jones today, which,
What was Quincy's best song?
you're not talking the 1969 hit for the Bill Cosby Show,
Oh, we should play that.
Hickabur,
Dude, that's a great tune.
with the lyrics, "Oh Lord, Hickey Burr, oh Lord, I'll have some smack, gulp, aha."
Who wrote that shite?
Him and Bill, but that is actually a pretty good song.
You know what we'll do? We'll play that on the outro before we play the outro.
All right.
So Phil Lesh passed. Quincy Jones passed. Bill sent me a text after he heard you mention The Wiz. Yeah, Bill, Quincy Jones produced The Wiz, the soundtrack. Okay.
And I said last podcast, move on down. It's Groove on down. Right. I said move on down. So I just wanted to, right.
So let's talk to John because he's just sitting here waiting to jump in. He's chomping at the bit.
Right.
Okay, this is what intrigues me. I'm dying to know this. You're a few years younger than me. At what point did you say, "This is it. I've got this. I understand it. I hear it."
This is what I'm going to do.
And was it defer?
So I went to St. Clair and Montefiore, right up the street here on Mac, just off of Caju. We started playing. We had the option to do an early morning music program, instrumental music program, starting in 4th grade. And on the day that they had they call it like an instrument petting zoo, so you have all the different instruments and you can try, and they of course try and steer you in different directions, like if they need a tuba player or
oboe, or
everyone wants to play the saxophone and trumpet typically.
Right.
But anyway, I gravitated right away to the trombone. I was fortunate that it just clicked right away.
That's amazing. I remember going to defer, and I remember sitting there in class. The cacophony of screeching that came out of that music room was brutal.
Yeah.
But it's so funny you say that because I played sax. Everybody wanted to play trumpet. Well, I never practiced, and during the recitals, they would look over, and I was completely just faking it the whole time. No idea what I was doing. But we had one oboe, no trombone, because it was offered. Nobody wanted to do it.
That's usually the case.
Yeah.
I think my sister tried the bassoon for a bit.
Oh.
That's a tough one.
So it was fourth grade for trombone?
Fourth grade, yep. And so every morning, oh, geez, what time did we get there? 7 o'clock, 7:30 until about 8:30, I think. It was probably 3 days a week.
Okay.
And then I was fortunate. Again, it was one of these situations, you hear people talk about where the timing was right and the right people and everything aligned.
Sure.
The woman who was the teacher, her name was Kathy Kurtzakowski, and she also ran the music program at Bishop Gallagher.
Okay.
So within about 6 months or so, I was going after school then to play in the jazz band at Bishop Gallagher.
Okay.
And that was roughly 3 days a week, I think. And the funny thing with that was within a few weeks, all the trombones quit.
And everyone's looking at you and like, all right.
Did you force them out?
I think they were perhaps maybe a bit embarrassed. I don't know.
I mean, you got some broad shoulders, man. If you push somebody out of the way, they're going.
God, if
but
Rutherford
she would go down the line, as oftentimes they do in music programs, and play the part, and I would be able to play the part.
If Rutherford does one more solo, I'm quitting. I'm out of here.
Dude, I still think the funniest line is Martin Barr, the guitarist from Jethro Tull. He's like, yeah, I had 2 tries to do my solo in the studio, and if it wasn't done in 2 takes, it was a flute solo.
And I just want to add, you were the Falcons at St. Clair. I was St. Paul Lakers, which we hated you guys, but you absolutely kicked our ass in sports all the time. We'd come in strong, and you would kill us every time.
I don't know if it's still the same, but
it is, because my son, who's 28 now, played for St. Paul's, and I know people who have kids at St. Paul's right now, and that St. Paul's St. Clair thing is still going on.
Okay,
so,
that's good to know. But yeah, so that's
Falcons Lakers.
There's always tension in this world.
But so within 6 months or so, I was over at Bishop Gallagher, and I can't emphasize how important it was for me, at least, to be playing around musicians who were better than me and older. So I mean,
it pushes you.
Fourth
That's how
or
you
fifth grade
learn.
with high school boys and girls, and that was my first studio experience too. They recorded a CD. We went to at the onset of home studios, so I think it was somewhere in Harper Woods, maybe, or St. Clair Shores, and they cut a whole big band CD.
Were you in the basement, the dining room?
It was a basement. Okay. Yeah, it's a basement. It was a basement.
Here's our studio. Looks like a basement to me, but
you can imagine, for being in 4th or 5th grade at that point.
Oh, that's huge.
It was great, and just to have that experience and
yeah, right on.
Playing along to tracks and not wasting time. And
so wait, you're in 4th grade. Everybody else is in high school or older.
No, so this was the Bishop Gallagher Jazz Band.
Okay.
So I started in there like second half of 4th grade, and then I continued on playing in it for at least through 7th grade.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Still participating in the music program at St. Clair.
Sure.
But then finally by 7th or 8th grade, you don't need to come in the morning. But I also started private lessons pretty much within a couple months when I first picked up the horn. And, those experiences and the timing of everything was just really set me on the right trajectory.
Sure.
And I loved practicing. I mean, that's the bottom line. You have to practice.
Right.
When I say I felt really comfortable picking that instrument, but it was because I was practicing. I knew how it worked, and I knew what I had to do to get better through proper instruction. And
as a kid practicing, I'd put the trombone kind of up there with the drums. Did your parents make you go out in the garage? And
at first, I mean, they were pleasantly surprised as time went on. They enjoyed hearing me practice, but I know the first year or so it was, but it was in the basement, and but you know what? There were never any jokes. There was.
Cool.
I've only learned these stories in hindsight.
Right.
They were always encouraging, and it got to a point where they would have to ask me to stop practicing. I mean, when I was in high school, I'd be down there 3, 4, or 5 hours, and like, John, it's 11, and they wouldn't. I could go till 1 in the morning. They never. They would encourage me sometimes to take a break.
Sure.
But they never made me feel like I was disturbing them, and that was.
That's huge.
Awesome.
I mean, that's kind of the first time I just kind of realized this. They never acted like they were disturbed.
Nice.
I have a little bit of an argument here. You just used the phrase, you need to practice. Now, all the YouTube videos that I look at for guitar say you can be a shredder in 4 minutes.
Well, they want the views. They want the clicks.
Yeah, but that's metal too, Bob.
Yeah, right. I want to be a shredder. That's what I want to be. So then that takes you through high school.
So in high school, I went to University of Detroit Jesuit High School on the
Go
west
Cubs.
side. Go Cubs, yep. and was in the band there. I kind of I had to be as a requirement to participate in other programs around the town. You usually have to be in your school program.
Right.
So, but I was participating with the Detroit Symphony Civic Orchestra, which was high school through adults. Then I was going to U of M on Sundays, playing in the U of M youth jazz band and youth symphony orchestra. So that was every Sunday.
You're a little busy.
Yeah, and Saturday also. The Civic one was on Saturdays, and then the Metropolitan Youth Symphony rehearsed out in Southfield. That was Saturday mornings. So my weekends were really consumed with music. Saturdays and Sundays, it was all music, pretty much all through high school. Summer, I started actually. I should go back. After my first year of playing in fourth grade, I started going to Interlochen in the summer times.
Oh, sure.
And so I spent 7 or 8 summers at Interlochen, and that place is magical. That place is great.
So it's not hockey team going all over the country. It's music.
Yes.
Going all over the
Yes,
country.
exactly. Yeah.
Which is, it's almost unheard of. Are the music programs still going in public schools, or have they axed those?
A lot of them have cuts. There's not the interest as well, and the thing is, as we just were saying, it involves a lot of practice. It doesn't involve going online, clicking on something, and getting a result. It takes a lot of practice.
Are you kidding? That play that I'm doing, 4 months of memorization.
Right.
Oh, it's crazy.
So I think a little bit just the way society is, they want sort of the instant gratification.
Right.
And it's just, it takes a lot of patience. A lot of patience.
Do you know who ruined it for us? Bezos. Everything shows up in 2 days.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
you know what?
FedEx started it when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight.
Yeah, but you paid a price for that thing.
Who says advertising doesn't work?
As I said the other day, my kid can recite every political ad
That's what you
on
said.
TV. Oh, I can't wait till tomorrow's over.
Well, I think there is.
Sorry, the next week of election is over.
But there's still music programs. But, John, I think you're right. They're nowhere near what they used to be. And, again, the power of music.
It's a shame.
Now, were your parents, spinning tunes all the time? Was it, where does... my sisters were the ones who were spinning tunes for me, and then I got into music,
Dude, I could see your dad scratching. Really, I do.
A lot of AM radio, CKLW.
The greatest.
And then,
best,
he had
yeah.
an 8-track collection. And, I remember listening in Chicago and Blood, Sweat, and Tears. That was about as quote-unquote hard as he got.
Okay.
Most of the stuff he listened to was American Songbook, Sinatra, Dean Martin.
Herb Albert's coming.
I saw that. Yeah, I'm
that.
going. I think March 22nd?
Is that over in Canada?
No, I think it's at the
Oh,
Masonic.
the Masonic.
It's
Yeah.
at Masonic.
We gotta go.
Gotta go.
Wait,
What's her 89?
I think he's older than that.
Okay.
We got to go.
Yes.
I concur. So high school, then you go to U of M.
Yeah. Well, let me just go back really quick. I sang in the boy choir at St. Clair as well, and that was singing is really important to playing an instrument. You got to be able to hear the pitch. You
Right.
Gotta, you got to be able to sing. It doesn't have to be pleasant, but you got to be able to sing the right notes. And if you can't sing it and hear it, you're not going to be able to play it on an instrument.
So, John, do you have that brain where music is always kind of happening?
I got lots of things going on.
I don't need to get too specific. We're speaking about music here, John.
Yeah, there's always some background.
Why don't you lay down on the couch and tell us what's going on?
But so as far as influences, that was important. My dad was in the church choir. He had a great singing voice. Hearing him sing every Sunday. But neither of my parents had any formal music training outside of choir at school and things like that.
But I think that generation, your parents, my parents, you were more in tune with some form of music, be it the church choir or your parent, in the 40s and 50s when my parents were growing up. Hey, son, daughter, you're going to be in the school choir. You're just going to do it.
Right.
And you would learn. Could you imagine if you went up to a kid nowadays who's 12 and said, oh, you're joining the school band.
Right.
They'd come home with a nose ring or something like that just to piss you off.
But you used to have to do either choir or band.
You did.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
Choir or band or orchestra. And I don't think it's that way anymore.
But in the 40s and 50s, all our parents, you had to show your Frank Sinatra card to get in for dinner. Every one of our parents had Frank Sinatra albums, including mine.
Oh, yeah.
And then take it from there with the Perry Como and all that.
You're not talking about the Time Life box sets that I still have in the basement?
How many of them do you
Stan
have?
Kenton, Eager Beaver.
Oh, yeah.
What a great tune.
Yeah.
How many of those do you have? 6, 8?
Nah, I got rid of a couple because they were pretty beat up.
Oh, okay.
Norm, use his fingers a lot.
Oh.
Yeah, not great. Not great.
My dad used to take me to see old movies out at the Redford Theater. And so I remember.
Still going?
Yeah, I know. It's great. Another hidden Detroit gem. But in fourth grade, when I started playing trombone, he took me to see the Glenn Miller Story. And I thought, at that time, I thought Glenn Miller was like the best thing ever. I mean, as I've aged, and I mean, it's a little corny, it's cheesy, but
I'm gonna.
he had a run though. He had a run where he was the man, and I just love that movie.
You give me. Wasn't that Jimmy Stewart?
Yeah.
You
It's Jimmy Stewart.
give me Glenn Miller's greatest hits. I'm going to listen to it start to finish. Honest to God.
Sure.
It's great shite.
Absolutely.
But then you might put it away for.
Right.
Well, then I'm going to
couple
pull out
years.
Gene's solo album, but right after that, just to, equilibrium.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're off to.
So
Ann
then
Arbor.
I went to school in Boston first for a couple of years at the New England Conservatory of Music.
Wow.
And then
This is a CV, I'll tell you.
Now, which one's better, Berkeley or the New England?
well, I used to get hired as a ringer because Berkeley didn't have enough trombone players. I would get hired to go over to Berkeley sometimes and
Okay.
participate in their ensembles.
Oh, good.
I was fortunate to start sort of substituting with the Detroit Symphony, so I transferred to University of Michigan and was able to. I was working in Detroit and then Toledo Symphony. Started building a freelance career in the Metro Detroit area.
Sure.
In Ohio, and that's where kind of things just started sort of growing from there. Then
So how old are you when this is starting to move?
20.
Okay.
And you're just a hired gun. You're a trombone guy who's a hired gun.
I had a beeper. That's
It's for music gigs.
Yeah. And that was I got back to the personnel manager so quick with a lot of these places that because I had it set up, I'd be in class and I would see it, I'd have to call. I had a early cell phone and check the
brick.
message, and then I'd call right back within 10 minutes and so I'm available. I had a good, that was a good just start in the industry.
Now, to ask a stupid question, so there just weren't that many trombone players out there. If you're getting people calling you all the time, you're jumping all here, Ohio. I mean, there's not that many of them?
I would say, I mean, it's definitely usually a deficiency in the number of trombone players in any area.
Okay.
There's always a lot of trumpet players and saxophone players.
Sure.
But there's a lot more that goes into it than just the numbers of how many players there are. But it's like, showing up prepared, wanting to be there, doing a good job, showing
Good
up on
player.
time.
Right.
The buzz is worn off before you walk in the door.
Easy to get along with,
Sure.
wearing the right attire. And so, you continually, if you abide by those practices, you just build up a
Building
reputation.
your reputation, yeah, as a not difficult musician.
Right.
And I hate to go back to this, but the Wrecking Crew, what a band. I mean, to me, Carol Kay is the greatest.
Oh, my God, absolutely.
If she didn't play on 500 or 1,000 songs, I have no clue. But it was the same thing. I can make a good living doing this. I don't even know if she ever toured.
Not sure.
Yeah, but what was that documentary? I think Doug T. We don't use last names as much as even though.
Talking about hired guns.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Isn't that the one with Arnott, the drummer? What's his name?
Kenny Arnoff.
Kenny Arnoff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Hired guns.
Yeah, and then actually, so Kenny used to drum for Bob Seger, who later on I started touring with Bob Seger's band in 2006. I put a horn section together called the Motor City Horns, and we did, well, up until his last, we've done probably, I don't know, close to 350 shows with them since 06, and I think we're on 3, he usually does 1 or 2 tracks with horns on them, like a full horn section. We're on about 3 albums, maybe 3 or 4.
Very cool.
But Kenny was drummed for the Silver Bullet Band, I think in the 96, 97 tour. I wasn't involved at that point.
So where was Don Brewer?
He was, I don't think, did he, I forgot if he did the 86, 87 tour, but he probably was busy with Grand Funk.
Well, Gary and I have a little bit of a hard-on with Don Brewer because he screwed Farner.
Big time.
Out of the rights.
Oh, I'm staying out of that one.
Yeah,
Right.
no.
It's just Bob and I will continue, but no, whatever.
Hey, when you bump into Mark Farner in a pet store in Petoskey, you got to support the guy, okay?
John, where is the best place you played with Bob Seger and Silver Bullet? I mean, that's a lot of years.
Well,
you were
hold
with him.
hold on. So we have 8% of our listeners are over in the UK. 2% are in. 3% are in Norway.
Pakistan.
So
don't
we
forget
have
our Middle Eastern brethren.
Right. Well, we can't be heard in Belarus and
Russia.
In Russia. But for everybody out there, Bob Seger's an Ann Arbor-born musician. Some people equate him to a Midwestern John Cougar Mellencamp, or maybe
Bruce.
Exactly, Midwest Bruce.
Right.
Wrote a bunch of great songs, really broke it when he put out Live Bullet in 76. I still love Smokin' OP's 7 and back in 72.
Which, Bob, back in 72, came out when?
Released in 73. Come on, ref, let the kids play, right? So Bob Seger is extremely famous in the United States, and then we find out you've played with him. Gary and I have seen you play on stage with Seger when the Rockets were playing with him on that bill. And I just talked to Jim Edwards the other day.
Okay.
At a bar in Hamtramck.
Look at you.
And I want to get him on here too. I mentioned it to him. And then I saw the last show at the Palace with Jutter and Kate and one other person. I can't remember. So I've seen you twice play because you were at that final show, weren't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And when they introduced everybody, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. It makes 3.
But wait, now after saying all that, where's the best place to put you on the spot? You played with Seger and
With Seger, I would say, I mean, playing the Forum and Madison Square Garden were always
very cool,
very memorable. Played each probably 4 times each, maybe. Jones Beach was very cool.
Nice.
Are you familiar with that venue?
No.
I've heard,
Right on the water.
I've heard of Jones Beach. I don't know anything about
Jones Beach Amphitheater. And I also, later on when I started doing some work with Noel Gallagher and the High Flying Birds, we played a show there as well. That's a really, really nice venue.
Have you done Red Rocks?
No, never.
Hollywood Bowl?
No.
Did you ever
There were always some rumors about that, the bowl and Red Rocks, but things never just came together.
Did you ever get the old Kobo with Bob?
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Come on. That is fucking
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
this goes out to the Norwegians. Cobo Hall is an old theater infamous in Detroit for the bands that have come through there.
12,000.
17, I think.
Something like that.
But some of the best acoustics and coming.
Well, the acoustics always depend on who the sound company is and how the sound is being run.
Okay.
But
I always heard about Kobo.
Yeah, it was a good place to hear a show.
Better
for
than
sure.
most.
Yeah, it was a good
okay.
place to hear a show.
Paul Stanley likes it.
So did Nazareth and April Wine.
I'll tell you that Dylan show, I bring it up again. Okay, so Cobo Hall is cool as hell. Have you ever played Masonic?
Yes, with Noel Gallagher.
Okay, so let's jump. So Seger, playing with Seger is flipping huge. You've crossed paths with a lot of musicians over the years, and we'll touch on some of those. How'd you hook up with Noel Gallagher?
So the first time he toured North America with the High Flying Birds, it might have been the second time. The first time he started using a horn section,
In what year?
2015.
Okay.
And he was picking up, as bands often do, especially sort of smaller or smaller venues, they'll pick up horn sections in each city they go to.
Sure.
Cuts back on costs, hotels,
exactly.
travel, everything.
A la Chuck Berry. Yeah.
Right, exactly. The manager of the Royal Oak Music Theater reached out to me knowing about my horn group, and they needed a horn section. So we had just finished touring with Bob Seger like the week prior, so we were in great form. We went in, played the sound check. I don't think Noel was there. I don't remember if he was or not. But the band was very happy. We all nailed it. We didn't even do everything. We just did about a half an hour of stuff. Then we came out and did the show.
Nice.
And I'll never forget a couple times Noel turning around and looking at the horn section because we were playing it really well. And I'm not one to prop myself up, but it was a really good showing, especially given that there was no full rehearsal.
Yeah.
And we read the book down. We called it a book because it literally is a book. And
Yeah.
you just turn the pages and read the music. I could tell he was pretty happy with it. They continued on and getting a different horn section in each city. But then the next time they came around, or back to North America, they picked us up for the whole tour.
Nice.
Really?
And that's what happened 3 or 4 times after that as well. And then, in hindsight, we found out too, they actually had a discussion that night about we should just, because they'd already had some bad experiences with horn sections prior to being in Royal Oak.
Okay.
And so they were like, should we just bring the horn section? Should we just bring them with us?
Okay, now
And sometimes those Gallagher brothers don't show happiness, really. So if they showed happiness with you, that's
think-
pretty huge.
I think Noel's
No,
hat.
he's great. The whole band was great. A really, really enjoyable band
Very cool
to
story.
travel and perform with.
I
for
heard
sure.
the records are good though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great songwriter.
Yeah. Do you have a cell phone number on your cell phone?
I have his WhatsApp,
All right. Pretty cool.
which I don't know. how
Pretty
that
cool.
works.
Because I hear they're getting back together
Oh,
for
yeah, I
a
don't think-
major North
No,
American tour.
I don't think my accent is right for.
So we saw those guys with the Black Crows
Correct. The Brothers
at
tour.
Meadowbrook.
Right, with
was-
J-Dub.
Yeah. All right. Now let's take a dive through the studio work, if we can do that. So Gary was naming off some people you've worked with: Aretha Franklin.
Not in the studio.
No,
But I did play her. I've played a few shows with her over the years, but
Okay.
most notably her last one in Detroit, which was, I think she played Philadelphia afterwards, and then I think she passed away within the year. Or,
Where was her last show?
it was
in
on
Detroit?
Madison, right in front of the Detroit Athletic Club, like
Oh.
right in front of Music Hall. They set up a whole
outside.
Just
in the
outs-
median. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So walk us through a couple of studio people you've worked with,
People
or
you like
Sure.
playing with, or whoever comes
Well,
to mind.
and then Gary and I'll give thumbs up or thumbs down to see,
Right.
tell you if we like him or not.
Well, of course. I mean, like I said, a bunch of sessions with Bob Seger, and there's tracks that we've done as well that haven't been released. And
Is he still smoking?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
An interesting session was over COVID for Alice Cooper, which was all.
I love the Coop.
Yeah,
I
he's a
love
great
the
guy.
Coop.
He's very smart too. Really interesting to talk to and very engaging. I just went down and saw. He was at Huber Heights, Ohio. I took a buddy of mine down there to see him, who's a fan, and we got to meet him and everything.
Yeah.
And he was thrilled about that. He put an album out. I think it went number one.
Detroit Stories.
Detroit Stories,
Yeah,
where he
yeah,
used
yeah.
all Detroit musicians.
I've got it.
And so that was. I'm on the song $1,000 High Heeled Shoes.
That's a good song.
Yeah,
Johnny B's on that.
I believe so. Yeah.
I know it. Who from the MC5 would have been on it? Probably Wayne. I think Wayne's
Yeah,
on
he takes
it.
the guitar solo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That is cool. I love the Coop. Talk about a guy. You goes from drinking a 6-pack of beer in the morning before he gets out of bed. And my assumption is the only reason he had to get out of bed is because he had to pee, right? To going to the go-to guy for all the musicians who've got to break a bad habit. He's like, you just find another addiction, and he did.
And he
Right.
went to be on Solid Friends with Groucho Marx.
Oh, that's right.
And
Yeah.
You ever see some of those old-
and Salvador Dali? I mean,
Yeah.
and he was a center square in what was that game show?
Oh,
The-
not
Not Match Game.
No.
He was a center square in Tic Tac.
With
was.
well, there's gosh,
Hold on, there will be a Bee Gees news alert on that later. Go back.
Right.
All right, wait a minute. I'm going to totally digress here for a second. We've gone back and forth on text a number of times. Have you listened to any of our podcasts?
I have not.
jeez, John, you just should have lied and said, "Yeah, you guys are real." I only listened to
I
one
don't
or
think you ever
two.
sent me a link.
Kurt.
And I didn't know the
Bob,
name.
that was the one thing you were supposed to do.
Oh, besides bringing all the equipment over and setting it
I
the
didn't
fuck
know.
up.
I didn't know the name of it until just now.
God,
Do you have a business card you can give him?
yes, I do.
Okay, over there. We'll give you one more.
But I wanted to, John, I was going down your list, like Yo-Yo Ma, The Who, Ray.
The Yo-Yo Ma thing, that was a real major experience for me. That was when I was 21, maybe 21, 22, and got to tour all of North America with his group called the Silk Road Ensemble, which was a group he put together that basically followed the musical cultures of the Silk Road and
Really?
throughout Asia
Wow.
and Europe and
Okay.
the various cultures. So it was a very eclectic group. But there was one piece that had 3 trombones. I think there were 9 instruments total in this piece, and it was only about 15 minutes, but it featured very traditional vocal stylings, Asiatic vocal stylings. I forgot exactly which culture it was. We recorded at the Hit Factory in New York, which are no longer there. And that was I got a call from Toledo just to do a one-off. And then he's like, you know what, I want you to come and do the rest of this with me, and I want you to record it. And that was, again, just from responding to a phone call quickly.
Sure.
And then I actually got to put the whole section together for him. So I hired the other 2 trombonists as well. And one of the guys I got to work with was Jim Pugh. So Jim Pugh is in Steely Dan and really one of the greatest, most versatile trombonists of our time. He's a professor now at Illinois, but he was the top New York studio musician until he left maybe 10 years ago or so. And that really gave me the bug for wanting to, number one, travel and do as much recording as I can.
It's a big world out there.
Yeah, for sure. And so that was and that's another very fortunate, I was blessed to have that experience and, that it went well and you meet people through there. And that's how these things start to happen then, as far as getting recommended for other.
It's all
other
connected
stuff.
in some way, shape, or form.
When you said Yo-Yo Ma, I had to jump in and.
Is he as nice a guy as he looks like he is?
He's great.
Yeah.
And I've backed him up a number of times with the Detroit Symphony when he's been a featured soloist, and even when I was at Interlochen as a student, he always comes and he's very gracious with his time for younger musicians.
Love to hear that.
That was a real formative experience for me.
Well, and as Bob and I were going through the list, again, I said Yo-Yo Ma, great story, The Who. But what really jumped out at us was, you've got to tell us about Debbie Gibson.
Oh. Yeah. Well,
was that a nice segue?
I love it, Gare.
Debbie.
Do you know where that was?
In a mall? That was Tiffany.
It was the first. It was not a public performance, but it was the first performance at Ford Field, I believe.
Oh.
And it was a private party, and it was a real sort of random array of artists they assembled. And I was very young back then. What was that? 2003 when they.
02 is when Ford Field opened, because Comerica was 2000. Because I was at the first Tigers game. I think Ford Field was 02.
So this is like 02 then, and I wasn't as inquisitive sometimes when I would go to early on when I go to play gigs, but I always try and find the backstory now because the backstory is often very interesting. But anyway, it was Gladys Knight and the Pips, and it was Debbie Gibson, and I'm not sure if there was a third act on it, but anyway, that was
okay.
Staged in the middle of the field, and we weren't like a couple thousand people. I mean, no one was in the stands. It was everyone was on the field.
Yeah,
it was some type of, I think, like, grand opening party or for donors or however that whole thing was funded.
If I was a donor and they gave me Debbie Gibson, I'd be pissed.
I'll be honest, I don't remember much of it.
That's okay. We respect that, John. That's good.
It's probably a good thing. And this goes out to the Norwegians. So Ford Field is our big American football field where the Detroit Lions play.
We're gonna keep that in. We got to keep that in.
Oh yeah, for sure. Don't mind the noise in the background. We are at
do it one more time.
We are at the famous Caju Cafe in Detroit, talking to John Rutherford, and you may hear a little bit of noise in the background. Who was the one, if he was alive and he was a nice person, and I met Steve Marriott? I don't know if I could even speak. Who was your person that you played with for that you were like, holy shit?
That you got tongue-tied when you saw this person. Where you had to take a deep breath and be like...
Well, we already ruined it with Debbie Gibson.
it was Yo-Yo Ma.
Okay.
I mean, we were playing on Carnegie Hall stage. I mean, that was very delicate music.
Sure.
It was very nuanced and very exposed, being such a small group.
Right.
So that was definitely one. And getting to play on Carnegie Hall. I mean, I'm
awesome.
22 years old, and a lot of people do get to play on that stage, but they're oftentimes, it's through groups. The groups pay to have the experience to be on stage there, and I'm getting paid. We're recording at Hit Factory Studios. The record was released on Sony, or the CD, or whatever. That's definitely the one that jumps out.
Nice.
Ray Charles was another one.
Oh. Never saw him. I'm so bummed.
At the music hall?
No, Toledo.
Okay.
At Paris, is it either the Peristyle right next to the Art Museum in Toledo, or it was they have a Masonic hall down there called, is it the Strathmore? I can't think of it right now. But anyway, one of those two venues in Toledo.
Now, on a gig like that, do you get to have a little conversation with a guy like
at
that?
Ray? This was probably, my bet would be that this was his last show in Toledo. I mean, this was around 2003 probably.
All right.
So there wasn't much. We rehearsed without him, and then he came and did the show. He might have soundchecked one song.
Okay.
But that was great.
He didn't last into his 80s, did he? I think he was in his 70s when he passed. I saw him at the music hall with, and I was going to mention this, I think Thornetta Davis came out and opened up for him.
Oh, wow.
And I know you've played for her.
Yeah, she's the best.
So Thornetta Davis, it's funny because my older brother used to love the Buzz Tones. Loved them, would follow them. And I've got one of their EPs. I can't figure out why. And then they started backing up Thornetta Davis, and their sound completely changed. Where is she now?
She's performing all over.
Is she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Europe,
great voice.
U.S. We did a tour with her with the Motor City Horns and a legendary blues guitar player named Johnny Bassett.
Yeah.
who passed away a little bit ago. But we went to France, probably circa 2009.
Okay.
Or so.
Okay.
And we were over there for a couple of weeks and played a bunch of different festivals.
See, that would be so cool. Okay, you are doing what you love. You're getting to experience the world. I mean, you got to pinch yourself every now and then. Recording a podcast has been my dream.
But Bob's
come
right,
on.
John.
I got no laugh out of that one. Come on.
I did.
Thanks.
But but John, you got to look in the mirror sometime and be like, "Wow, I'm at Carnegie. I would at least."
I've been very fortunate, and I feel really blessed. I mean, there's a lot of talented musicians out there who don't get those experiences.
Sure.
And they're far and few. And like I said, it's the right mixture of talent and timing and magic that
Right.
bring these things about.
Yeah, but it sounds to me like the professionalism is what keeps people calling you. You show up, you do it. You don't
Show up on time.
You don't show up hungover. Da 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 da. That's why people call.
For sure, yeah. It's definitely, the less you have to worry about as someone who hires musicians for a band, a music director or producer, the better. So if you don't have to worry about certain things, great.
Right,
You get
right.
you get your key guys and you build your team, and that's what I've done then over the years with the horns. I get the guys that I use. I have a big band. We do different projects, corporate events. We've gone to New York Auto Show and done reveals for Mercedes-Benz. I used to do a number of events for Mercedes-Benz around the country. And it allowed me, too, to hire Detroit musicians for projects, which is something I always feel very honored to do and like to do, is to get, exposure to Detroit culture
Sure.
and music and the people.
Wait, you gonna?
No, my hand's up.
You gonna interrupt me?
My hand's up.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I interrupt you.
Got to interrupt me again.
I want to go back to Noel Gallagher real quick. So you're called. It was yourself and how many other players, and you organized them and you brought them all. And this is your ensemble.
The Motor City Horns, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I brought two others, a sax player and a trumpet player.
And who are they? What are their names?
Keith Kaminsky, and at that time it was Bob Jensen on trumpet.
And Bob is not there.
Well, then later, it sort of morphed for a while. At one point, then there was a trumpet player named Walter White who I brought in. It's based on availability and
Okay.
things like that.
Sure.
And then they got to a point where they would just hire Keith and myself, so the sax and trombone, and they would bring a trumpet from the UK, which was what we've done the last 2 or 3 times. And that is pretty cool. Some of the guys they've brought, one guy was in Madness.
Oh, nice.
Love them.
He actually has a podcast over in the UK as well. Sort of like, it's a comedy podcast. Joseph, his last name right now.
How good is your photo album?
I've never been huge on taking tons of photos, but there's enough. Yeah, there's some good ones.
You got a couple pictures on the wall at home?
I got a couple. Yeah,
You got a
I
little-
got a couple. Yeah,
little trophy hallway of pictures? that
yeah.
you
Oh, yeah.
walk
There's a
down?
little.
Okay.
There's a little Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Good, you got to have that. Ray Charles, 1930 to 2004, 73.
70.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
what I'm saying.
young.
It was 2003, I think, when I did it.
Okay.
I think I would put it as his last show in Toledo for sure.
June 10th, 2004 is when he passed. But again, 73, that is really young. I mean, I know he lived a hard life. And
Yeah, I think I saw him summer of 2002
okay.
at the music hall, which is great. And they walked him out. I think he played 70 minutes. He might have played 60. Not long.
That's pretty good, though. I mean, at that age.
John, tell me this. What, from a horn perspective, bringing it back locally, the Detroit scene, is there strong talent to choose from? I know, like, if someone called you today and said, hey, John, we need you and 3 other...
I think there's very strong talent for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Oh, that's great to hear. Okay, just curious.
Best horn section in history, besides the Motor City Horns.
Browns band.
Well, it's apples and oranges. I mean,
Oh, don't get politic
come
on
on.
me.
as far as execution of the material would be the Jerry Hayhorns. The Hayhorns top LA section did all the Michael Jackson stuff. So I mean, they're
Okay.
top notch. They're the best. I got to study some master classes with different members of that group over the years. I would say them. They're not like a commercially known entity
No.
per se. They're online.
They're not like Tower of Power or anything.
Yeah, they're on liner notes. They're on liner notes. But if you
Okay.
want to get into sort of more of a commercially marketed horn group, a horn band per se, rather than just a section, I mean, I got to spend some time with James Pankow from Chicago over the years.
Very cool.
I really like them. And they still work a ton. It's amazing how much they're on the road.
That first album of theirs, Chicago Transit Authority, I was listening to it on the way over here. The horns are
Yeah.
unbelievable. And if you think about it, it's 1969. and they put the horns out front. And 69 is, you know,
Well, they're the founders.
yeah,
It was their band.
exactly. But I mean, Terry Kath, come on. That guy was incredible.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, you've got Abbey Road, you've got Beggar's Banquet, you've got this,
Yeah.
you know, this kind of, and then all of a sudden,
Horns.
CTA comes out
Yeah.
and they throw that right in your face. And that the introduction song, the first song on the first side of the album, is staggering. It's so powerful. And I know I sent you a note about the little tit for tat with Blood, Sweat, and Tears in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And Chicago was like, oh, well, you know, they're a frontline instrument, the horn section, and with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, they're in the
They're
background.
in the back, yeah.
And Al Cooper gets really pissed when people say that. But actually, Father is the Child of Time, I think, is their first album. That's a great album. Love that album. Was that the one your dad was spinning? Because there's a couple psychedelic tunes on there.
I don't remember.
Hey, at least your dad was spinning that. My dad was. I'd come in and be like, "Hey, sit down and watch Arthur Fiedler and the Pops on public,
I had that.
on
You know what?
public
I had
TV."
that too. Yeah, I had that
And
too.
I'd be
for
like,
sure.
"Okay, Dad," and I'd be good for about 15 minutes of that. But yeah, at least well, that and a little Frank Sinatra. We did have a little bit of that going. So
So where do you get your equipment? Where do you get your trombone equipment? McCourt's Music? Or do you go to New York?
Well, some of the horns I bought are vintage horns,
What manufacturers?
typically Bach,
Okay.
Vincent Bach. Well, now it's called Kahn Selmer Bach.
how many horns do you have? Is it like a pipe collection? Do you have 500, John?
I have
More than you need?
Is it getting to be kind of a problem?
no. It's
Like
actually not.
guitars,
Like my
Bob?
record
Like
collection?
yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
I have six or
Okay.
seven. They're different sizes and for different applications. You know, different musical
Sure.
scenarios.
Which one is your favorite, and what year is the horn? When you're going to them and you're like, that's the one I really want to grab.
All my horns are over 20 years old. Some are a couple are 50 years old.
Wow.
I like the one that's my newest. I bought it in 2001, I think. 2000,
Okay.
2001, and it's got some custom work on it, and got it through a guy in Wisconsin, outside of Milwaukee.
What?
Gary Greenhoe.
What's the first thing to like blow out on a trombone? What's where you're like, oh shoot, that's broken. Or
Rev-
what?
I see
You know
what
what's
you're
what's the
saying.
first thing where you're like, oh man, is there? I don't know. I don't know anything about a trombone.
There's not as much gear problem with brass instruments than you have with woodwinds, and probably even, you know, with guitar players and bass players. You know, there's always some type of electrical issue,
Sure.
electric issue. You know, pedals, things like that. We're not dealing with that, so it's a little more simple.
Right.
The biggest thing is you want to make sure your horns don't get knocked over.
Yeah.
And that can be hard on a big stage, you know, rock band environment with people moving around.
Right. Moving equipment.
The important thing is on a trombone is to have your slide aligned, just like a car's wheels are aligned. You want to have the outer and inner slides aligned. If they're not, you can't move it. You know, or it doesn't move well.
Right.
Go home and check that on YouTube, just so you can understand what's going on here.
I will.
Big fan of rock and roll. Tell me about a rock gig, straight up rock and roll, that you did besides Seeger and besides Noel Gallagher that you're like, that was kind of fun.
Memorable performance was with Susie Quattro at the Detroit Music Awards.
We love
And the reason Bob is one of the biggest fans. And a quick note, so for his birthday one year, Bob's like, I'm a big Susie Quattro fan. So I had to find a T-shirt, and she lives in Australia?
No, England.
But I had to get the shirt
Shipped over.
from Australia. I could not find...
I think she lives in Australia.
Oh, then I'm wrong.
I think she
Thank
might.
you, John.
Her sax.
Dude, I'm never having this guy back.
She probably has houses in both countries. Her sax player, Richard Beasley, who I had the pleasure of meeting through my UK music friends,
Yeah.
Okay.
the Gallaghers, hung out here at Catchy Cafe with me when he was visiting some family in town. And he actually called her when he was here, and she remembered about the Catchy Cafe. And, she only grew up just down the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Her brother actually lives right over here on Grayton or Harvard. Michael Quattro.
Her brother lived below me when I lived on Beaconsfield in Jefferson, so I'd see him every now and then.
Okay.
Okay. So Quattro's great. She just played Royal Albert Hall in the last 6 months, I think it was.
Really?
And that, talk about a venue. When I lived over there, I walked into the Royal Albert to see Eric Clapton, and the history of that place, the music that has come through there. I'm just looking at this place like, holy shit. It's a rental stage too.
Oh, is it really?
You can rent it.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me to record soundtracks and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Susie Quattro.
We got to do some sessions with Dennis Coffey, who is, if you know his name.
Yeah, Funk Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he do Scorpio? What was his
Yeah,
the song?
that was this big. Yeah, Scorpio. We are on his probably his most recent album. It's a few years old now. We recorded them. I can't remember the name of the engineer right now. He passed away, but he was an old. I think it was Ed Wolfmeister, but who we recorded it very sort of old school, Motown style. It was just like keep record. None of this like, well, just fix that, and it was just like cut, another take, another take, another take, and that was a real pleasure to get to work with him. And there's a number of like younger bands and more local and regional bands that we've done sessions for, and occasionally we'll do like a CD release and play horns. But the thing of it is, it's typically only like Seeger. We're Seeger's first full horn section. I mean, of course, he had alto reed up front.
Sure.
But it's not until the horns are the last thing added typically. Background vocals and horn sections are
in the studio.
Well,
or just in the whole songwriting process.
You were asking about like performances. So I'm just trying to think of like live performances. But it's when an artist gets big is when they can start to play around and add that. But otherwise, it's studio. So there's a lot of studio stuff we've done for local bands. We've done some stuff for Tony Donardo, who's in the Mugs.
Okay.
For his project, his side project called Dude. And some really, really cool tracks we've done for him over the years.
Did you ever play with Black Market?
No.
Okay.
So some work with, they changed their name. At the time they were called Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Oh, I do like that one.
Now that I think they're just Junior. We've done some tracks for them. And they had a band prior to that. I can't remember what they were before that. We've laid down a lot of material. There have been a lot of sessions.
Detroit Cobras?
No.
No?
No, we'd love to have them play here at Cadju outside, though.
Have you ever heard of Kelly Stolz?
I've not.
Okay, he's a former Detroiter, lives out in San Francisco. He's got a couple albums. He's probably got about 12 albums out there. I've had a little communication with him. I'd like to get him on this thing. He's got an album called Double Exposure. Flipping awesome. So good. Okay, but I digress.
One last thing, though, but the exposure with The Who.
Sure.
Yeah, tell me about that one.
Yeah, that kind of jumped out.
You were on Live at Leeds?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Wait a minute, I wasn't
Who is
informed.
this guy?
Yeah,
Who is
sorry,
this guy?
sorry.
Easy.
Their last few tours, they've picked up musicians in the areas where they've been performing, and so I played their last couple of Detroit shows, and I did one out in Grand Rapids too, where they would pick up roughly 30 musicians, some strings, horns, woodwinds,
And they just give you a book and you follow.
yeah.
In 1994 or 6, Grand Funk did the Palace with a full background orchestra. Would you have been in that one? There was a concert for, it's not Campuchia because that's a 80s thing. It was, Farner wanted to do a fundraiser for
I know what you're talking about. No,
Bosnia.
I was not involved in that. I was not
Okay.
involved in that.
Is
But
that-
a colleague of mine was named Walter White.
Okay.
Was involved, did all the horns.
Yeah, we came in late on that one. We missed Frampton.
Right. And John still, I know you're pretty busy here with the Cadju, but still the horns, you're still,
yeah.
you got a lot on your schedule, man.
Most lately is just been some private events and a couple little sessions here and there. I've been, my father just passed away, and so my last year or two has been kind of consumed with that, and now worrying about my mom. Right. But no, I still teach a little bit too, private lessons, and just keeping it all going.
Fantastic.
Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Oh, are you giving me the wind it up thing?
Right, I was trying to do it because it's radio theater of the mind where no one would see it.
Oh, that's right. But I just
you
announced
ruined
it.
So
Yeah, I
that's
did.
cool.
Okay, one thing that I want to mention. We saw it last week when we recorded Rory Gallagher's famous Strat,
Right.
$868,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know which one I'm talking about?
No.
So he's got this Strat. He played it forever. He basically sweated all the finish off the whole thing.
Yeah.
868, and nobody knows Rory Gallagher over here.
No,
Which is
you're
a shame.
fan, I'm a fan, Pat's a fan.
Yeah.
But boy, you want to have some noise in your life on a Monday? Put on some Rory Gallagher.
Yeah, that'll do it
It's a
for
lot
you.
of money for a guitar.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what though? If you look at Gilmore, sold all
Right.
his stuff. All these guys are they're taking care of their estates.
The board for Abbey Road Sessions is for sale, I think, for $3 million. I just saw that somewhere.
So my friend Ted over in London sent me this, and this was the other thing I was going to mention, was discarded Beatles recording console sells for $2.25 million.
Okay, 2.2. I was off by.
So a console used to record the Beatles' Abbey Road album is listed for $2.5 million after being found in a skip and refurbished. So it was custom built by EMI Studios, which changed the name to Abbey Road, blah, blah, blah. It was found in a skip. They rebuilt it, sold it for $2.25 million.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm sorry, a skip for us
It's a
Americans.
garbage, a dumpster.
Thank you. Okay.
Look,
Dude, you're
dude, I said to Ted at
the
the
skip. Okay.
I said to Ted at the Players the other day, I go, "Oh, sorry, man, I took the piss out of you the other day." He goes, "Yeah, you just use our language, okay?"
Is it Cockney? What are you
Yeah.
saying there, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna go get some Ruby Murray. John, this has been fantastic.
This has been
Thank you.
great,
I had a
buddy.
good time. This is great.
Really
I mean-
appreciate it.
I'm glad I bumped into you 40 years later,
Yeah, there you go.
ish,
that story is for the next one.
for the next
Right,
one.
exactly.
If your listeners can guess how we knew each other.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, there we go.
If you know, send us a note. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on X. You can find us on YouTube. Not really well, but
Spotify.
okay. So I'm going to throw out a challenge. If this one guy has made it this far, JT Harding,
Oh yeah, I know JT.
do you? Mm-hmm. Well, then you know what? I'm going to send you a link to this one. You send it to him and say these guys are the fucking shit.
Right.
Okay, I will be happy to.
Where's he? Nashville.
He's performed here. He had a book come out.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Julie sent me a photo of her and JT and a
Okay.
few guys. Is he in Nashville?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Oh, he's one funny cat.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh, he's
He'd be great
hilarious.
on this.
Oh, are you kidding me? JT, you're coming on, buddy. You know what? I gave you that Kiss Dynasty t-shirt in 1980. You owe me. You owe me.
Well, again, John, this has been great. Really, really appreciate your time.
Sure thing. Sure thing.
And everybody, if you're in Detroit, come to the Caju Cafe just off of Mac and Caju and get some mussels
CajuCafe.com.
There you go.
because they're damn good.
All right.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
That's all I got.
All right.
We'll see you later.
See ya.